I go drink water and mind my business. Mind my business. Drink water and mind my business.
And it goes a little something like.
Hello, Literates. I'm brittwriterly, and welcome back to Writer's Ambition. For those of you who've been hanging in since episode 1, use a real one. And for those of you who just found my humble channel, welcome. We hope you stay a while. We are getting real close to 600, y'all, which is great, which is really cool. So, February HonesTEA today, this month, instead of drinking my usual tea, I'm drinking water because your girl has not been drinking enough. So I'm going to really try to drink the entirety of this cup by the end of this 15-minute video. There's the first sip. Okay. So, thank y'all for coming. Make sure to like this video. Okay, and let's just get right into it, starting with the You Did That. Because last month, if you recall, usually I'll start by going through the goals that I had for that month and then saying, did I do that thing? But last month, January, was a very general what I want for the year. And so now we're going to start breaking down the increments of how to reach those annual goals, right? So we're going to start with the You Did That, and then we're going to go into some goals. Concentrated goals, not a long list, a short list. I think that's the best way to achieve goals, is not by having 7, but by having 3 really foundational goals. So that's how we're moving this year, okay? So You Did That. I got started on Tales of Eliza Black Part 2 revisions. I finished Tales of Eliza Black first draft and late November, early December of last year, and I was like, yay! And I'm still yay! But now I got to get back into it. And so part 1 is really solid. My critique partner has read the entire. One of my critique partners, Cachet, has read the entire novel. Part 1 is really solid. Part 2 is the newer part that needs more work. So for those of you who are onto my channel, we're here since episode 1. So for those of you episode 1ers, you remember when I used to have story time. And so that's when y'all met Eliza Black and her motley crew. And so a lot of part 1 is those serial installments that y'all got for the first 3 months of my channel, I guess. And so I've been sitting with it for a year. It's really tight and polished, and so I don't really need to work on a lot of fundamental things of part 1. Part 2 is newer and it needs more work, and so I don't want to celebrate forever that I finished the first draft. Got to get back into it with my wrench and my screwdriver. So part 2, I procrastinated for a little bit, but I'm back. So I started part 2 revisions. I did the first chapter of part 2. Got some notes from Cachet today, actually. So now I know what I need to be looking at. I'm gonna have to just keep checking, but we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, for now, You Did That. Started part 2 revisions. Great. You Did That number 2. Y'all, your girl got another full request for #first fantasy. I am really excited. And y'all have seen me super lit. So maybe you're you don't seem really excited. I am really excited. Not but, full stop. I'm really excited, full stop. I got all rejections a year and a half ago. 2 years? Oh my gosh. No. A year and a half ago when I first queried #first fantasy. Full rewrite, completely different manuscript. But I got all rejections the first time, and now I'm querying a lot of the same agents, and one of the agents who I got a pretty quick rejection from the first time, I got a pretty quick request from this time. Another agent who was closed for a while now is open, and she's requested. So I'm happy that I am getting different responses, period. And also I know that it can take a while after you get a full request to get an offer of representation or a revise and resubmit or a ultimately it's not for me, but you know, whatever. Like it can take like 3 months, it can take 6 months. So that's why I'm not like bouncing all over the place, because I'm just like, wow, I'm so glad that I've even made it to this benchmark that I didn't even approach last time. But I'm just like, it's very even keeled energy because I know it's sort of long haul process. But I am still so grateful that God is blessing me to even get this sort of affirmation that we're on the right track. The writing is growing, the story is growing, the characters are compelling, their voice is compelling. Like, I'm really, really excited about that. Third, you did that. Pause. Hydration. I don't know if I'm gonna finish all this actually. Okay. Water. But I'm a big kid, so I have to do it. Okay. Third, you did that. I passed the 50-page mark on hashtag third fantasy. So in terms of like, for me, for benchmarks, when I finish the first chapter, I'm like, wow. And then for me, the next benchmark is when I finish the third chapter or the 50-page mark. I have finished both of those. I'm on chapter 4 and I'm on page like 55 or something like that. And so I'm really like excited that I am rolling on the river with this hashtag third fantasy. So you did that. And finally, you did that. I reconnected with an old CP. So I had a critique partner that was here in this town with me. We were friends before we were critique partners. She was doing a lot of writing because she's in the MFA program at my university, or I think she graduated actually. Yeah. So she was in the MFA program. We had like maybe one class together. We would just hang out otherwise. So we became CPs right before she left. And we sort of just like fell off with it. And so reconnected with her like last week or like a week and a half ago and was like, so what's the deal? Are we critique partners or do we need to dissolve this? And she was like, oh no, that would be great. So we sort of like rekindled our commitment to being critique partners, set up weekly meetings, etc., etc. Our first one is going to be next Thursday, I think, Lord will, Creek don't rise. So I'm glad that I did that. I want to be responsible with the relationships, with my professional relationships. So I was glad that I checked with her to ask at all. And honestly, it would have been that you did that, whether we dissolved it or whether we recommitted, because either way, and I think an important part of taking writing seriously is taking those relationships seriously and acknowledging when they need to be dissolved and acknowledging when you need to just recommit to the relationship. So I'm just glad that I checked in on that relationship to try to maintain it. So those are my you did that's. Okay, hashtag goals for February. I started hashtag third fantasy adult rewrite. Let me explain. So I just told y'all that I passed the 50-page milestone of hashtag third fantasy. I was talking to a critique partner about a lot of things. And she was like, you know, I thought that that this was going to be an adult project, not a YA project. And actually, hashtag third fantasy as one of the youngest protagonists of whose mind I've been in for like a long time. Like the protagonist of hashtag third fantasy is 15. And I have not had to be in a 15-year-old's mind for an entire book thus far. Usually my protagonists are 16, 17, even 18. And then there are characters who are like in that stage range. There was even a 19-year-old once in YA, right? So Being in a 15-year-old's head, I'm like, woo, man, we are getting a workout, like staying in the mindset, staying in the vocabulary, staying in the logic, staying in the play. How mature is this 15-year-old? She has sisters. She has a twin who's also 15. Is she the same kind of mature? Okay, so it's a lot. And when one of my Cachet, when Cachet was like, I thought they were gonna be adults anyway, that was never the plan. But when she said it, I couldn't unhear it, and so I was like, I kind of want them to be like 25 now. So just to let myself express that, I am going to finish chapter 4 of the YA version of hashtag Third Fantasy. When I finish chapter 4, which by that point everything will be there, right? By the end of chapter 4, we will have met the family. We will have met this, like, we will have seen the sister dynamics. We will have seen what the protagonist issue is, like internal and external. Things will start to be in motion by the end of chapter 4. So it's a really good sample of the book. So then taking that and then saying, okay, let's age it up, that will change significant things, obviously. So it'll probably take me like a month or so to think through what that would change, different dynamics if they're not 15 and they don't live with their parents, right? It just changes things. So, but I want to try and see what a adult version of hashtag Third Fantasy would be like. So I want to start that in the next 4 weeks, right? Because I'm almost done with this chapter. So by the time the next HonesTEA comes around, I want to have started the adult rewrite of hashtag Third Fantasy. I won't have finished it by then, but I want to start it just to compare and see which one cost me more, which one I like more, and looking at my canon of work, how old it makes sense for them to be. So we'll see. But I want to start that in February, early March. Okay, second goal. I want to cement the POV voice and the rules for the POV. I want to submit the POV voice and the rules for Tales of Eliza Black Part 2. So one of the reasons that Tales of Eliza Black Part 2 needs more work is because there's a POV change. It's first person in Part 1. And it's first person in Part 2, but you just don't know who the narrator is anymore. It's very clear that Eliza's the narrator in Part 1. She's not the narrator in Part 2, and you don't know who the narrator is. It doesn't get revealed until the end of the book. And so that's fine. That's fine. I just need to make it clear to the reader. I need that to not be confusing for the reader in ways that I don't intend for it to be confusing. I do not want y'all to know exactly what's going on, but I don't want it to be like this feels like a chaotic confusion, right? So I just need to decide on the rules of magic for this character and decide her voice. Can other characters see her? Can they not see her? Am I being clear about when she's visible and when she's not? That sort of thing. So I just want to cement the POV voice and the rules of her movement in the next really like couple of weeks. And then my final goal for February is to finish the first section of my final chapter, my dissertation. Working on it, it just is a whole mess right now. So I want to have it like clean by next month. That's the goal. Okay, those are all my goals. Did I drink all my water? No, I didn't. But I'm gonna have dinner in like an hour and I'll finish it, okay? This is the issue. I'm not drinking a lot of water. Like, I think I am, but I'm really not. Like, this is not a large cup and I didn't even finish it. This is not good. So maybe for a minute, for a little bit, for a few months, we'll have to do this again to make sure that Britt is drinking her water. We'll be back to tea very soon. Okay. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you made it this far in the comments, comment, drink water. And until next time, bye-bye.